Hi, I'm sure you've noticed the influx of movie and series releases that revolve around the theme of toxic relationships. Sure, the idea that women love a complicated, uncommunicative, dangerous man has been around for centuries, particularly in the literary world, but thanks to Anna Todd and the rest of the Wattpad generation, rocky love stories have become increasingly popular in recent years. I don't know. There must be something about us women that are drawn to the idea of a complex, fire-fueled, heart-wrenching, tear-inducing, body-burning, crumbling love. And thanks to the global connection that TikTok has brought us, giving everyday people the platform and reach to share their personal experiences worldwide, a lot more people have actually begun recognizing themselves having been in a toxic relationship or experiencing toxic people, therefore further drawing consumers to this type of story on screen. But the truth is, there's always something that's quite irked me about the relationships deemed as toxic on our screens of late. And that is because, to me, they're not really that toxic. They don't quite represent the intricate nuances that form toxic relationships and what that actually looks like within a couple. That is until I watched Tell Me Lies. Finally, a truly toxic love story. Okay, so before we delve into the mess that is Stephen and Lucy's relationship, I wanted to first outline the toxic love stereotype to help emphasize just how different Tell Me Lies is. I've noticed that most toxic love stories shown on screen follow a recurring trope, and that is 1. The often shy, good girl embarks on a new section of her life. Now that may be a new school, college, a new job, a new city, a new something. It's there she might meet new people, new friends, and realise that she's been sheltered or apprehensive about living her life to the fullest. 2. The good girl begrudgingly meets a handsome, moody, confusing heartthrob whose rudeness and eccentricity ignites a fury in her core that, lo and behold, transforms into attraction. Meanwhile, the handsome, moody, confusing heartthrob is mesmerised with just how different and special our good girl is. And of course, she knows all of his favourite books and they have so much in common, and she sees past his hard exterior, etc, etc. Then, the HMCH shows his true colours. He becomes increasingly moody and confusing. He's hot, then he's cold, he's nice, then he's mean. He looks to be falling in love with her and then ignores her in public, and the audience start to realise there's been deception in their relationship from the start. This part is really important because this is where the toxicness of their relationship is often understood to be. We see the HMCH repetitively lying, playing with her emotions, and I guess being toxic. We also learn more about the male protagonist's past, as there's almost always some dark story that explains why he's so emotionally unavailable, and it usually has something to do with his family. This part is also important because it provides an explanation or excuse for the male protagonist's behaviour in a way in which we as an audience can't help but sympathise with. So when the fourth thing happens, we as an audience can't help but feel like he deserves another chance. And why wouldn't we? We've been able to see how much the HMRC truly feels about this girl, and he clearly loves her. Did he start dating her for a bit? Sure. Did he lie to his friends that he likes her? Maybe. But those are just bad things. Maybe mistakes, maybe really bad decisions, but not necessarily unforgivable, not necessarily toxic. Especially when we as the audience can see how he pines for her in his spare time, doesn't particularly like hurting her, loves her, genuinely cares for her, and wants the best for her in a way a truly toxic partner does not have in them. And finally, the girl forgives the guy, and he never acts in that way again. All of his family trauma is somehow solved in an instant, and he is the perfect man and perfect boyfriend. There's something about this style of plot that doesn't feel real enough for me. And while relationships like Campbell and Elle in this society do portray a nuanced look into how a shy girl can fall into the trap of a genuinely nasty and dangerous man, these types of storylines show more accurately a relationship of domestic violence rather than the catastrophic entanglement of an average toxic relationship. More specifically, toxicity arising when both sides of the relationship are troubled. More often than not, two damaged people coming together is a true catalyst for toxicity to form in a relationship. This brings me back to Tell Me Lies. Tell me them lies. As Scissor said it wonderfully, can you distract me from the disaster? Can you touch me and not call me after? Can you lead me to the edge? What is the password? A truly toxic relationship will have you begging for the pain the other brings you, which is exactly what our Lucy was doing to her very own special brand of HMCH, Stephen. But let's start from the beginning. When we meet Lucy, we are instantly introduced to a different kind of female protagonist. Lucy isn't gentle and kind, focused, academic or shy. She's not clean girl aesthetic, if you will. She's normal. She's hot. She's influenced by her peers. She's up to date with the latest trends. She just wants to make friends and to fit in. She's a normal teenager starting at college. She's also very clearly got some shit going on. It's established almost immediately that she's got some issues she hasn't dealt with, like the death of her father, and it has stunted her emotional development as a result. See, Lucy hasn't been the same since she discovered her mother was having an affair with her dying father, and her mother was actually with the other man at the very moment her father passed. She has never dealt with the sudden halt in her childhood when she became entangled in these adult matters. What's worse, her mum doesn't know that she knows, so carrying the burden of that secret hasn't helped at all either. This is important because the backstory of Lucy as a character very realistically portrays a more nuanced understanding of the type of person who is easily susceptible to toxic relationships. She's not whole, if you will. The suppressed trauma within her causes her to seek something, to feel something, and unfortunately, this comes in the form of Stephen. Another subversion of the norm comes from the fact that Lucy and Stephen don't instantly fall in love or get into a relationship. In fact, they pretty much are always feeling different things for each other at different times. They're never on the same page. And sometimes they're even seeing other people. This to me is more realistic and reflective of toxic relationships I've seen in real life. Sure, they're the very real examples of couples moving so quickly and falling into a toxic relationship. But often, a toxic relationship never feels safe or secure, but rather confusing and random from the jump. What makes this series more believable than different works in the same genre is the fact that Lucy's past and trauma led her to the point of being engrossed by a person such as Stephen. And Stephen's past and trauma led him to the point of becoming the type of person we can truly consider toxic. Commonly, people who find themselves in toxic relationships are somewhat seeking something that has been lacking in their life or within themselves, and the toxic partner comes and initially fills that hole that nobody or nothing else could. Lucy thought of herself as broken, someone who thought and felt differently to everyone else. When she met Stephen, his abnormality spoke to something within her that ignited this missing piece of herself she hadn't seen for a while. She found herself getting excited for the first time since she was a child. But why actually is this? See, Stephen was not like other guys. Stephen was brazen, rude, arrogant, and unapologetically himself. When it would be expected for him to approach a woman with a compliment or a little humility perhaps, Stephen did the opposite. He insulted her, he asked awkward questions, and did so with no sense of shame whatsoever. He made her feel uncomfortable, and this, to Lucy, was special, because this was the most a guy had ever made her feel, and this intrigued Lucy. The juxtaposition of his aloofness and his directness ignited feelings in her that translated to excitement. Having felt blasé about everything else in her life up to this point, this was all it took for Lucy to become wholly infatuated by Stephen.
But you didn't like him?
I don't know. I'm honestly just not someone who gets very excited about things.
You don't get excited about things?
You mean like ever? No. Well, it's like when you were a kid, you know, and everything seemed super exciting and fun, and now I just feel like everything is just kind of like steady, you know, unless it's just totally overwhelming, you know.
As for Stephen, where to start? I guess with the ugly truth that hurt people hurt people. Stephen was raised by a narcissistic mother who emotionally manipulated her children when it benefited her. it's clear that when Stephen became an adult, he came to feel somewhat like the world owed him for his admittedly poor upbringing, which I believe helps him justify the way he uses people to his advantage. When Stephen meets Lucy, he sees her as a fun and easy acquisition, and most importantly, he uses her as a distraction from his real relationship because Diana had been ignoring him and he still wanted to be with her. As their story goes on, there's a much higher stake to keep Lucy happy and on his side, and he does so with no hesitation despite the pain he knows it will inflict on the people around him and the people he claims to care about. But, it becomes pretty evident pretty soon that Stephen only really cares about himself. Stephen has narcissistic and sociopathic tendencies and sees people primarily as tools he can use to get what he wants. So, Lucy is infatuated with Stephen and the way he makes her feel. Like we see in these types of relationships in real life, Lucy would do anything to hold on to that feeling because she thinks it's what she wants. This is why Lucy agrees to a casual relationship with Stephen, because she thinks it's worth it to have some sort of access to him. But when it's obvious she's not okay with it, instead of admitting those feelings and choosing her sanity over the situation by being honest with Stephen about how she really feels and walking away, she picks up on the one symptom of the overall problem to address.
Why don't you ever go to parties with me?
Why won't you take me to parties? And asks to be taken out in public. But this isn't what she wants. She wants exclusivity, which can sometimes look like going to parties together. But because she thinks she can't ask for that, because, she's already agreed to something she's not okay with, she asks for something she thinks will make her happy, going to parties together. This is why the bin bag party scene is so powerful and maybe my favourite scene in the whole series. Stephen and Lucy decide to attend a fancy dress party without costumes. They aren't allowed inside with normal clothes, so they both have to wear bin bags instead. The two of them aimlessly stroll around the party and it doesn't really seem like there's a place for them there. And the episode ends with the two of them sitting in silence in the midst of loads of people having fun. This is what Lucy thought she wanted, to go to a party with Stephen. But why is she still so unhappy? This scene clearly shows how the act of doing so, going to the party with Stephen, was just a band-aid for the real tumour of the situation, which is that the guy she's with doesn't actually want her. And even though a part of her still just wants to have fun and go to parties, this scene visually shows that as long as she is with the trash, she will feel like trash, literally. Lucy doesn't ever choose herself, she chooses what she thinks she wants. That's why she feels unsatisfied even when Stephen gives her what she asks for. Because what she wants isn't what she needs. Why is it on TV shows and movies that it almost always gets revealed when someone tells a lie? Not only that, but it gets revealed at the perfect time for the plot in the most satisfactory way, and it drastically changes the story and the decisions the characters make for the rest of the plot. I don't know about you, but in my experience, this is never really how it goes. Sometimes lies are unfortunately never uncovered. This is why I've got to give further props to Tell Me Lies for this very small detail. Frustratingly but cleverly done, Tell Me Lies realistically deals with deceit and deception. As we know, Stephen is a big fat liar. He lies to anyone and everyone about anything if it benefits him. Even if it doesn't benefit him, he'll still lie for fun or to hurt someone or to cause chaos when he's bored.
Seriously, dude? You couldn't come up with a better lie? We don't even have a place in the city.
You got houses everywhere else, right? I can't tell her I'm staying at Diana's family spot. No way.
Sometimes I think you just lie for the fun of it.
And it works. His lies almost never get revealed. He lied to Lucy about Diana, she never found out. Lied to Diana about Lucy, she never found out the specifics. And she even got back together with him. As annoying as it is, this is way more realistic. In real life, narcissists get away with their lies. That's a part of how their partners get so emotionally entangled with them. Their lies are so convincing, so passionate, that they elicit the trust of their victims and make them feel like they are going crazy. Most people, when they finally come out of a toxic relationship, don't even know how many lies they were truly told. They might never know. They might know 1 or 2 lies, but the sad reality is they never really truly know the extent of the manipulation they went through. And there's usually so many more lies that remain hidden forever. Because we see this story from both Lucy and Stephen's point of views, we can experience the way Stephen puts a realistic spin on his lies, which helps showcase the very steady and meticulous brainwashing that Lucy and thousands of women in the world suffer from at one point in their lives. And this is not easy to do, not easy to showcase. Let's be honest, like a lot of toxic matchings, Lucy is drawn to the dark part of Stephen that she recognises in herself. The same part of her that feels nothing when breaking up with her boyfriend of 2 years has found its soul tie with Stephen's part of constant lies and deceit.
Because I'm an avoidant asshole,
I get it, because people who see themselves broken, like Lucy, don't often feel like they connect with someone normal like her ex. And when meeting someone messed up like Stephen, they can sometimes believe these kind of people are their kindred spirits. It's in this way that the relationship, although can start with one deceiving another, can likely evolve into a dangerous game of who's the worst between the 2 participants. In Stephen and Lucy's case, this is definitely true. Sure, Stephen started off by cheating on her, but Lucy's inability to let go of the relationship and instead resort to manipulative tactics to keep Stephen is really what catastrophized this relationship. It leaves the audience not knowing whose side they're on. They really do become just as bad as each other. Unlike in After, where we're rooting for Tess the whole time, Lucy quickly becomes a dishonest and frankly unlikable character towards her friends, her relationship, her family. This is what makes this story realistic. In real life, the toxicness of a relationship truly does thread through both partners, the toxicity seeping through to everything around them, whether it's their hobbies, their commitments, friends, schoolwork, it consumes them. Lucy becomes obsessed, and both her and Stephen become the catalyst to one another. The distinction between instigator and victim becomes more and more blurred. Tell Me Lies aced this, because boy did Lucy become my least favourite character when she was lying to her friends, giving them attitude, believing smelly Stephen over Pippa, and ultimately causing Wrigley's unfortunate accident. Hurt people, and Lucy was down to hurt everyone in her way of Stephen, including him, by blackmailing him to commit to her by using the secret of Macy's accident.
You've been really unfair to me lately, which I cannot understand seeing as how much I'm holding for you right now.
I know. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm so sorry.
Hello?
You wanted her to see us. You clearly did.
I think you should worry a lot less about Diana's feelings and maybe start worrying about mine a little more. You think she'd keep your secret the way I am for you? Let's talk about you running away, leaving Macy dead in the car. Was that a smart decision? You're lucky I care enough to keep it to myself. Because I think if she found out about you and Macy, she'd be so worried about ruining her perfect little life, she'd probably report you immediately.
These types of relationships tend to end abruptly, and in the most painful way possible, with absolutely no closure. In Tell Me Lies, Stephen ghosted Lucy and pretended she didn't even exist as he walked past her hand in hand with the ex he told her not to worry about. That's it. No conversation, no reason, no chance for her to get things off her own chest. This is a part of the reason these types of relationships can stay with us for so long. and why Lucy is still affected by Stephen several years later. The lack of a proper conclusion to the messed up cycle she was in left her hungry and unattended to, broken once again. And that hole that she was trying to fix, the part of herself he helped for a short time, yeah, that's even bigger now. And worst of all, she mistakenly thinks that being with him might be the only way to fix it again. The end. You know, I would have loved to talk more about why Lucy and Stephen's relationship broke down so quickly, particularly in terms of their aspirations and home lives, and why ultimately Lucy kind of drove him into Diana's arms. But it felt a little off topic. If you watched this, thank you so much. If you liked it, please share it with your friends. This is actually my first video, so I hope you come back for the next one.